I lost my way at MIT, but I'm going to share with you my journey and how I managed to get back on track. What's up everyone? Professor X with a Z here with another video on my series of Zero to MIT Mathematics Graduate and UC Berkeley PhD. If you like my content, please make sure you follow and hit that like button. Quick recap of what happened in high school. I was excelling, and then I got into MIT, and now the story picks up in my first year at MIT. I'm gonna be 100% honest. During the first year, I had a bit of an ego issue, going from not being able to count past 10 to now being okay at math. I kind of believed that I could do anything, and that could be considered confidence. But the issue is, when I got there, they had me retake a couple of the courses, and at that point I was really frustrated with retaking courses, because if you've been following the series so far, I pretty much had to retake every course that I ever took twice, just because my high school didn't want to recognize some of my credits. I'll never forget, it was the first midterm for 18701, which is Algebra 1, and I didn't really know what to expect, but I was just like, I got this, like the homework, I was kind of getting a little bit not doing so great on the homework, but I was just like, it's an exam, how hard can it be? I got in there, I think I got like a straight 75%, and I think class median was like 88 or something like that. I think I got actually a 63 or something. It was very below the median. And that was definitely my welcome to college moment. Same thing happened with my 18022 midterm, except this time the class average was a lot lower. It was just a harder class, but I got my exam score back. I think I got a 75 or 79 or something like that, which was way below what I was used to. And I was just like, man, this is what college is really about. But of course I didn't really accept that, so I started to go to my 18701 Abstract Algebra 1 office hours with Professor Michael Arden. And it was funny because the very first day I showed up, I was just asking questions, and then by the end of it, he was like, you should show up more often. Mind you, I have no idea what that means, because I don't know if he was saying that I was a joy to have in the office, or if he was saying, yeah, you struggling bad, you need to get up in here. But that day, I learned the value of office hours. So before I continue, this is just one piece of advice. Definitely, if you aren't really doing so well in some of your classes, I think this goes for pretty much any classes, right? Usually the professor's office hours are a very great place to go. Now, mind you, it's very important that you have tried the problems yourself. One of the worst habits that I developed during college was I would try to, cram everything in, or learn everything as fast as possible. So I would go to office hours thinking I was getting inspiration for questions, but really they would just be going over the answers. And then when it came to exams, or when it came to doing other homework questions, I had no idea how to start. One of my other videos, when I was talking about learning math, this is why I was passionate about doing the mathematics yourself, because what happened to me was, again, I was seeing everyone else do it, and I thought I knew how to do it, but then when I tried to do it myself, I didn't know, right? So in that video I addressed how to mitigate that problem. But one of the other biggest mistakes I was making during that year was I wasn't really working with anyone. Full transparency, in MIT math, there is this air of, it can be a little bit elitist. I'm not going to get too much into that right now, but it was a little bit challenging finding others to work with, because a lot of times, sometimes if you made one mistake, then it would be a little bit harder to work with those same people, because they would no longer trust you. So that first year, it was 2019, I was spending a lot of time by myself. I was doing all of my work by myself. I was not really getting help from anyone. I would go to my abstract algebra office hours, but I would not go to multivariable office hours. It was just a lot of time by myself. I played a lot of Smash Bros. If you play Smash Bros, let me know. I don't really play anymore, but definitely I was grinding that game. I was actually not too bad either. But during the spring semester, that was COVID, so we had to go home, and that was a little bit better of an experience because I had my family. But that's when I was actually fortunate enough to get my NASA internship. How did I get that internship? What happened was I was really interested in doing research, my first year. However, word on the street was it was really difficult to get math research your first year, especially at MIT. So I had emailed the representative for mathematics research within the department for students, and they told me that generally professors are looking for students with more experience. So, spoiler alert, this caused me to basically spiral my entire undergraduate degree because I was really hungry. I was just really forcing as much knowledge in my head in 4 years just to try and do research. And that was highly counterproductive. And I'll get to that, you know, as I keep going in this series. But anyway, I had reached back to my mentor from back home and I told him, I said, I don't have enough experience to do research. And then he said, nonsense. So he had a connect at NASA because one of the students that was working with me, like in my cohort, they had gotten an internship at NASA. There were connections there, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that crew. I'm going to make a separate video about my experience at NASA, but just know definitely I learned a lot during that summer, and you know, I was very fortunate to just have that experience. It was basically just me learning about representation theory, but again, you know, that's never a bad thing to do. Like, I wasn't necessarily doing research as like what people would conventionally think about. I was mainly just learning things. But also during the summer, this is where my unfortunate addiction to Rocket League developed, right? So I had gotten exposed to Rocket League during that summer, and after that, during the fall semester of my sophomore year, that was, you know, 2020, so it's still COVID, I was still at home. I was putting in like 30 to 50 hours of Rocket League a week, and I was also taking 3 grad math courses, 1 math undergrad course, and also 1 music course, and I was also a TA, right? So when I tell you derailed, like, that's when life kind of got really bad. But unfortunately, I'll leave it there, and I'll leave it on that cliffhanger. But you know, if you like this type of content, please make sure to like and, you know, follow me, and please comment on what you would like to see next. That's really important because it helps me understand what the, you know, what the people want to see. So you know, that concludes this episode of the series, and you know, Professor X, what is he out?